Man has a natural ability to focus and adjust his eyes, which enabled him to cope with his earliest environment. This ability extends to all his senses, allowing him to identify and predict hazards. In a primitive environment, man could cope. Eventually, man found ways of traveling faster and adapted his natural abilities accordingly. Until he developed this environment. Man has a limited ability to comprehend the many simultaneous events which may happen at speeds such as this. In this environment, man is forced to rely too heavily on one sense, his sight. This is a foreign stress situation, with different hazards requiring different reactions. The motor vehicle has taken man a long way from his natural environment. The further man is removed from this environment, the more vulnerable he becomes. Fortunately, the human mind is very adaptable, and there are techniques which can be used to overcome our deficiencies. Growing up in a mechanized world has assisted modern man in his judgment of speed and distance, but this is not enough. When we are driving, we cannot be fully aware of every detail in our view. Our eyes and brains working together select where we focus our attention. Because of this, we ignore detail contained in our peripheral vision. With practice, we can train ourselves to respond to more information from the periphery, but this requires specific training and self-discipline. So for now, let's examine a technique which is much easier. The scanning technique. Lift your vision and begin to scan. Scan from the most distant point you can see, up side streets, down both sides of the road, instruments, and behind you. The most difficult part in developing this technique safely is knowing how long to leave your eyes up and how long to keep them down. So concentrate mainly on the hazards which require the most immediate planning. Don't become too engrossed. You should not focus on any one point for more than a couple of seconds. It's not easy. If man has trouble coping with speeds recommended for city driving, how can he cope with the increased speeds in out-of-town restricted zones? The scanning technique is similar in the country, but there are different stress factors. The increased speed and type of hazards encountered require a more determined effort on the part of the driver. In city driving, the main point of focus while scanning was on the hazards requiring the most immediate planning. Here in the country, the scanning motion continues, but the technique becomes more difficult to maintain when cornering. Most important is to establish the exit point. Take this corner, for example. This is how the properly trained driver views such a corner. Here it is again, at half speed. Now for the set of bends. The technique becomes very difficult in this situation, but must be mastered for safe cornering. You must keep scanning and determine the most distant exit point. Avoid the temptation to keep your vision down in the corners. Regardless of what you drive, if you can't overcome this natural tendency, you must not drive fast. The technique of keeping your eyes up and searching ahead assists you in identifying hazards early. And ensures a smooth, safe journey. This then is the basic technique for correct observation. The more it is practiced, the easier it becomes. There are other methods the aware driver uses to assist his observation, such as positioning. This allows us to see more and others to see us. We can also look for zones of visibility. Here's another zone of visibility, giving the driver an early warning. We'll meet at the intersection. We can all learn this technique, just as this driver has. Another aid to observation is looking for clues as to where the road goes. The most important thing is to realize our natural deficiencies and to develop techniques to deal with them. Let's take a look at what we've not been seeing.